Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Defender Fitness Alliance. Before we get started, I want to thank you guys once again for being part of the Alliance. Once again, if you guys know any veterans that can benefit from this group, please invite them and let them know what we're all about. All right, so with that being said, I have a very special guest this evening. I want to introduce Army veteran and the director of FitOps Foundation, Eric Bartel. Eric, first off, thank you for joining the Alliance and for being with me this evening for this interview. Can you please start off by telling us a little bit about your service and what you're up to now?
Sure. I want to start off by thanking you for having me, though. It's always good to see other CFOs doing great things, and you're definitely one of them. I was in the Army from 2013 to just this past April, actually, on active duty. Prior to that, I enlisted and then joined ROTC, and that's kind of where I really found my way in the Army. I was an infantry officer. I served at the 101st, the Raksans. Went on deployment to Afghanistan. I got to serve as a platoon leader for 2 years. And then I got to spend another 2 years in the operations shop, which I hated at the time, but I would not be able to do what I'm doing right now without that experience. Um, Getting out of the military, as I was getting out, I actually applied to FitOps myself. And through that application, I was brought in as a contractor, just a consultant. And eventually, I was offered a position as full time staff right as I was separating from the military. And then from full time staff, I was just doing operations. And then as the organization grew, I kind of fell into the position of director of the entire operation. So it's happened pretty fast and suddenly, but I wouldn't be happier doing anything else. So I'm really excited for every opportunity I get, and I've been working my behind off trying to make sure that it's as successful as possible.
Well, definitely salute you guys doing the work behind the scenes and making FitOps what it is today. Can you tell us a little bit about, you were talking about your last couple of years in service. How did that prepare you to what you're doing now?
So um, my last couple of years, I started off in the S3 shop after I left my platoon, and it was very much just getting ready for another deployment, doing whatever we were going to do. And what ended up happening is they asked me to go up and be the Brigade S3, or a Brigade S3 assistant in there, and almost like a liaison between our battalion and brigade, and then kind of working under the Brigade S3 shop, which I really didn't want to do. I very much enjoyed having platoon time and being with the soldiers. And being at Battalion S3 was already kind of far enough from that. I really didn't want to go just work at the flagpole per se. So I was afforded the opportunity to be the rear DS3. And in doing that, it was actually extremely helpful because I got to pretty much do what I came into FitOps doing as far as like just refining processes and making them work for a new system. We didn't have the support that we needed. We didn't have the personnel that we needed. So we kind of had to change everything we were doing to make it work for what we had. And it's very much what I ended up doing with FitOps as well. But so I did that rear DS3, I did rear DXO, so I got to see a lot of logistical side, a lot of property side. I ended up doing rear D commander for a bit as well. Um, and then I ended up going in and when they got back, becoming the AS3. But when they got back, they didn't have an S3, so I was doing the S3's job as well. So it was always at least one level up as far as operations, what I was responsible for, and it kind of forced me to learn on the go, really adapt as I was learning to what the new process was and what this and that was to make us better.
And how did you, you said you sign up for FitOps. How did you find out about FitOps? Tell us a little bit about that.
So when I was getting out of the military, um, I was actually looking into going to grad school. I have my undergrad in psychology, and I was looking to get my PhD in psychology. Um, and I figured I could personal train on the side. I always enjoyed fitness, and I wanted to maybe use that as a another income while I was going back to school. So I started looking into just veterans certifications or even veteran scholarships for personal training. And that's when I found FitOps, and I just applied for it because I was like, why not?
All right.
Like pretty much everyone else who applied for FitOps, like, sounds too good to be true, but what do I have to lose? Um, and then they actually reached out to me and talked to me about not only going through the camp, but possibly doing some consulting based on what I did in the military, and just kind of helping out. And I was all for it, and that's kind of how I got my foot in the door.
Awesome. And were you part of the first I guess the first class or
No, so when I was coming to FitOps, it was actually last July. Um, so the first class that I saw was the September class. Um, I knew nothing about the first or second class, and I actually was brought out to the third class, the September class, to kind of view it and see what they were doing. And from that, kind of saw what was going on and used that to refine the process and make it better.
and then um and then from there, how did you get involved as far as what you're doing now as the director of FitOps?
So from there, I was just strictly volunteering. I was giving them feedback as how they can refine operations, how they can refine logistics, and stuff like that. And then I was brought on as a contract. So just kind of part time, just kind of something to get my foot in the door. They wanted to bring me on paperwork wise, and I was doing consulting as far as still kind of operationally and helping run their operations. I was originally supposed to attend the November class, and I ended up planning the November class. So that's kind of how intertwined I became in the things very quickly. Um, and then from there, they offered me to be brought on as director of operations once I was complete with my military service. And then as the director of operations, I continued to build on what I had started, just consulting. And then as time went on, the director position opened up because the previous director actually moved on to another consulting firm for actually starting up other nonprofits. And I was the next successor in line, and they thought I would be able to do it. So I'm doing my best to prove them correct.
Right. Now, being a FitOps, a CVFO myself, I know that you guys do a lot of work behind the scenes. Can you talk more about, I guess I wouldn't say worst moment. What's been like the most challenging moments you've had as a director of FitOps?
I think the most challenging moments thus far is we're kind of still in it, um, and that's the whole figuring out the fundraising piece, continuing to keep FitOps free to veterans without breaking the bank per se. Because up until this last class, Performix has supported 100% of everything, and they donated over $1 million last year to keep all these classes going. But we can't remain at the whim of Performix's sales. So I don't know if you keep up with that stuff, but GNC had a bad year. Well, Performix is exclusive to GNC, so Performix in turn had a bad year. So all of a sudden, we have this endless pot of money that's now no longer endless. And that's when we have to start kicking in fundraising. No fundraising has really been done up until this point. We've been an organization that's never had to fundraise before. So trying to learn that after being an organization that's never fundraised, to learn how to go back and say, hey, we need to learn this and we need to be successful at it and really quickly. And then go along the lines of actually asking people who are applying and people who have gone through the program to fundraise. that's even harder. Like, how do you ask someone that you said, hey, this is completely free, but now you're saying, hey, it's completely free, but you also need to fundraise on your own behalf?
All right.
A lot of people didn't take that well. And at the end of the day, Performance is going to continue to give money. But what we're doing is now, if you want to come to FitOps and you want to fundraise on your own behalf, you don't have to wait in line. As long as you're accepted and you fundraise on your own behalf, you're at the front of the line now. If you don't want to raise money, that's fine, but you're going to wait in line. We have 1,000 plus applicants. You're at the bottom of the list if you just applied. So it's given these guys who have replied recently a really good opportunity to get to the front of that list because other people are too lazy to fundraise on their own behalf.
Wow. And just to let the viewers know, Performix, another veteran-run supplement company, has basically been supporting and sponsoring FitOps from the beginning. And like Eric was saying, now it's I guess needing some assistance from CVFOs in fundraising. Um, so Eric, talk about some of the best moments you've had so far as part of FitOps.
Sure. Honestly, coming out of this last class has probably been one of the best moments I've had. Every camp thus far has been an uphill climb. And what we do is in each camp is I run it like the military per se. If we do an operation, we do AARs following it. We do um, any kind of we do AARs of everything, like the logistical side, the on ground side. I make my AAR or my staff AAR me, and then I make my participants AAR their squad leaders or the staff over them. Um, and that way we're continually growing, continually getting better and learning from the last class. And I think this May camp really kind of brought all of that to fruition. All the squad leaders were on point, all the participants were on point. The camp itself was great, and we actually ran it for about less than half the cost of the previous one per head. We cut costs ridiculously, and the camp was better all around. Um, and I think the participants enjoyed it all around a lot more. But just seeing all of that stuff, all that hard work come to fruition, and to see that every class thus far has gotten better, that's kind of just what keeps me going. That's the sweet stuff in it.
And are we allowed to say the location for it's in Mississippi, right? The last class.
The last class was in Mississippi, yeah.
Okay.
Um, we're looking for a permanent home right now, and we're working multiple angles. We're looking at potentially purchasing some land, and it's going to come through a donation from Performix, or we're looking at creating a long-standing partnership with another organization. And I'm got a call tomorrow with an organization that's doing something very similar to us, and they have the land. So fingers crossed, we could potentially have that partnership very soon. Where even August might be at a forever home of FitOps.
Awesome, man. That's hopefully good news in the future.
Yep.
I just want to recognize some of our viewers here. Carlos Romero, Richard Kaufman. Richard says, "Yep, my store helps with FitOps." Richard, he works at a GNC store, so shout out to Richard for helping out with FitOps.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, guys. So Eric, next question. What's your advice for some of our veterans who might be listening right now? You talked about it, you alluded to it earlier, but as far as like how can they apply and how can they get accepted into FedOps?
So the easiest way to apply, and really the only way, is you go to fitops.org. There's an apply now button. FitOps is only available for veterans, active duty, reservist, guardists. But we get asked a lot of times, foreign military, no, you can't do it. I'm sorry. Spouses is still no, and then local law enforcement and first responders is no. Um, in the future, we would love to open up the program to these individuals. We're just not there yet. So as long as you're active duty military or reservist guard, or you are a veteran, you can go ahead and apply at fitops.org. The application is not lengthy. The one on the website is pretty simple. Before, we would make folks go through an AI and artificial intelligence, and I think probably next week we're going to actually cut that out because we do every application by hand at this point. So everyone who's come to class has been handpicked.
Oh,
And that gives you an idea of why the process takes so long. We're starting admissions for August. We started last week. Um, so it takes that long to pick every single person we're going to allow in this August camp. Um, and once you've hit apply on that website, you're going to submit your DD-214 or your orders, and you're going to submit, I believe it's a photo of yourself. And then we go through your application, we go through that and that, make sure your orders are correct or your DD-214 is correct. And then from there, once we are ready to interview you, you'll receive an email saying, hey, we'd like to do a video interview with you. The video interview is either from a previous squad leader or from a staff member. And that's about a 30-minute video interview where we're going to ask you follow-up questions. Hey, we wanted to know this about you. Hey, you mentioned this in your application. All kinds of questions like that. We want to learn more about you. Based on that, you're either going to be a for sure go or you're going to be a follow-up. And if it was a squad leader, that means that myself or Jennifer, who's our operations kind of coordinator at this point, is going to call you and do another follow-up interview. And it can go two ways, really. Is either you're accepted to this next coming class, or you're back in the queue, which could be, hey, maybe August isn't the best class for you, or maybe timeline-wise it doesn't work for you. What we're trying to avoid is accepting people who are what ifs. We get a lot of people who lock in for a camp like May,
mhm.
and then 2-3 weeks out, even days prior, we get a call saying they can no longer come. So that's one of our biggest things. Yes, you have to be completely qualified for the camp, and that's how you get accepted. But then you also have to be in the perfect situation where we know you're going to come to the camp, because it costs a lot of money to organize these, to plan them logistically, and then to fly everyone in.
Right.
Every camp we have at least 2 people not show up on day 0. So if you're someone who's like, oh yeah, well I may come down on orders or I may do this, it's hard to get active duty folks in. It really is. That's why the program's for veterans. At the end of the day, it's to get these guys jobs so that they can start doing what they love and making money doing it. And we have so many partners in the fitness industry that there's so many opportunities for veterans to make money. A lot of people say, oh, you can't make money doing personal training. That's not true. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and we find new ones every day. So that's kind of the process, in a very long-winded way of saying it. But we're very picky. There's, like I said, there's over 1,000 applicants, and not everyone is going to come. We picked 20 for this last camp. We could have picked 30, and we picked 20. So,
Wow. So the over 1,000. How many? This last class you said there's 20.
this last camp, yeah.
Wow. And guys, just imagine just the work, the hours that these guys put in, volunteering and selecting the veterans that the applicants that put in for FitOps. So being a graduate of FitOps myself, I know firsthand how much this foundation has helped me and my other fellow veterans as well. Not just in personal training or getting a job as a personal trainer, but in life in general. Some of the things that um, some of you guys might not see is how much they've helped veterans just in their lives in general and changed their lives as well for the better. So shout out to FitOps for that. So Eric, I want to go ahead in the last portion of our interview here. So this is where I ask 5 questions, 5 fitness facts of
Okay.
our guest. So here we go. Eric, what's your favorite workout?
Okay. Well, this is those ones. I wasn't sure if this was like a CrossFit question, but I put deadlifts as my answer.
Oh no, it's just
I don't know
whatever.
if you were looking for like the Murph or something. That's not my.
No.
I like deadlifting. I try not to as much anymore because I got some stress fractures in my back. But at the end of the day, I love going heavy.
Awesome. And so least favorite. What's your least favorite workout?
Anything cardio.
Anything cardio. Next question. If you had to choose one person you could train with, who would it be and why?
So for this one, I didn't want to go with the very generic Arnold because everyone wants to train with Arnold, right? So I went with Arnold 2.0. I went with Colin Van Moger.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
he's huge dude, and I love his personality. I love hanging, like watching him just be himself. I think it'd be a great training session, and I think I'd be cracking up the whole time. Like, just I would love to hang out with that guy.
Next one. Recommend a book for our listeners to read.
So I actually recommended Tribe of Mentors. It's by Timothy Ferriss. I started reading it about a month ago, and I'm still not all the way through because I kind of read it as I go. I read it for inspiration, and I read it kind of just to, I guess, decompress a little bit. But it's got a lot of short um, points made by individuals who have done well in their respected industry. So you can pick it up and you can read for 5 minutes and put it back down, and you're not going to be missing anything because it's about a 5 minute read per thing. But it highlights just just what it says. Like it highlights points from mentors. Each one of them is teaching you a lesson in some kind of respect.
Curious, have you read his best-selling book, The 4 Hour Work Week?
No, I haven't actually.
I have that book, but I still haven't finished. That thing is long.
Yeah.
And lastly, tell us your favorite quote and why.
Okay. So my favorite quote is actually by Marianne Williamson, um, and it's uh, it's kind of really just something that has inspired me since I was young. I have it tattooed on my arm, or at least part of it. Um, but it's called Our Deepest Fear, and it really talks about um, not limiting yourself, which I feel like a lot of people do, and I feel like I've done in the past. And you limit yourself from wanting to shine too bright. Is pretty much what it talks about, and not being afraid to do that because when you do that, you're giving other people opportunity to do the same thing. And people are so concerned with just trying to be normal and trying to fit in when no one who's ever done anything magnificent is normal. So I love that quote. It's always touched me. If you've seen Coach Carter, that's the quote that they say in Coach
Yeah,
Carter.
yeah. Excellent quote, man. And finally, where can our viewers connect with you?
Um, Honestly, the easiest way to get a hold of me is probably Instagram. It's barbell underscore six. But that's kind of I look at that a couple times a day at least. It's really outside of that, like you can get me by email at ebartel@fitops.org or info@fitops.org. But most of the time I'm working, so I haven't even been on Instagram that much lately. Just how busy I've been. But hopefully it's for a good reason. We're trying to build some big things going on soon. I'm really excited about where we're going as far as an organization. We got a lot of stuff coming out soon. We are working on a ton of partnerships for this next camp, so it's just getting bigger and better.
Awesome, man. And I got another question here from Orlando. Orlando is in here. As far as fundraising, has any thought been put into establishing different competitions?
Um, we talking like weight
I guess
powerlifting competition. We talking like putting together a tough mudder.
I guess it's probably like weightlifting or competition. It just says competitions.
Okay, so we've had different people reach out to us about hosting powerlifting competitions and stuff like that. The only real hindrance of that is having a CVFO volunteer to run it, volunteer to organize it. We just put together that webinar that some people were watching, some people weren't watching, but of how to run your own fitness group fitness class with the proceeds going towards FitOps. So anyone interested in doing that, right now it's available to CVFOs, but we could potentially always open that up to other people as well. But that's an easy way. If you want to run a group fitness class, all CVFOs are already certified. So you can run a group
Right.
fitness class with all the proceeds going back to FitOps, and you can mirror that same process to something like a competition. It would just be on a CVFO for organizing it, because honestly, I'm not doing that. I got a lot of other stuff going on.
Right. um. Oh, I guess he wrote on here. He said it was powerlifting competition.
There you go.
Uh,
Organize one, Orlando.
there you go, Orlando. And one final question for you, Eric. For me, what can I do to help you and FitOps?
Honestly, just spreading the word, spread the gospel, man. Tell people what we do, stuff like this. And honestly, if you're a CVFO, just being a great CVFO, like you're doing, man. There's so many. There's 200 CVFOs out there. If every one of them was constantly just doing great things, spreading the word of FitOps, which a lot of them are already, like that's how we get people like Equinox, who came out to our last camp. The vice president of people at Equinox came out to our last camp because FitOps made an impact to that level on their trainers and their organization. Um, Putting together fundraisers, stuff like that. We have materials that we can send out. We got table skirts, we got flags, um, we got sample supplements and stuff that we can send out. So if a CVO reaches out and says, "Hey, I want to run a fundraiser. This is where I'm going to do it. This is when I want to do it. This is what I need." That's too easy, man. I can mail that stuff.
Awesome, brother. And definitely looking into doing another fundraising event for
Yeah,
the
I mean,
foundation. So
you did it before we even had the webinar set up.
yeah,
It was a
yeah, back.
successful fundraiser.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you guys listening out there, I mean, you really don't need any permission to do it, man. If you really want to help out and support this foundation, just do it.
Yeah,
like,
you can
just do.
go. You can go to the FitOps crowdfunding page as well. It's give.fitops.org, and you can set up your own fundraiser. You don't even have to do it physically. You can do it from your couch. Set up
Right.
a fundraiser, share it on social media. $50 donated is $50 more towards a veteran's tuition. Right now, we got all the veterans' tuitions down to $3,000 based on this last camp. If we get the next campsite for free, that's going to go down. If I can get people to sponsor the food, that's going to go down. If the more things I can get sponsored or donated, the cheaper it's going to be to bring every veteran out. So if you got connections, hey, my grandpa works high up in Southwest or something. Airplane tickets aren't cheap. If we can get group rates, we don't get group rates because we fly from all over the country. So stuff like that. Hey, someone I know works for a food company. They'd love to donate food. That's where we're going to cut costs rather than raising money. If raising money isn't your thing, if you know someone who can cut costs, then that's even better.
Awesome, brother. Well, Eric, thank you again for being part of the show and being part of the alliance. Thank you for what you're doing with FitOps. And guys, CVFOs, if you guys are out there, please continue to support the foundation, doing your whatever fundraising you can. And for any veterans that are interested in becoming part of FitOps, make sure you guys go check out that website, fitops.org. Eric, thanks again for being here and appreciate what you're doing, brother.
Thank you, Reed.
All right. Yeah, take it easy.